Good morning, Year 8. It's Mrs. Reed here and welcome to today's English lesson. Today we're going to be starting a new topic and that topic is called Texts Through Time. Can you write that down as today's title, please? And also copy down today's date and underline both with a ruler. Once you've done that, we're ready to move on. So the first thing we're going to do is our mastery review, thinking about knowledge that we've already learned. You need to write the numbers 1 to 5 in the margin, and next to each number write the answer to the question. You can write short answers for this, so it doesn't have to be full sentences. You have 5 minutes to complete this task, so pause the video and allow 5 minutes to complete those questions. Okay, once you've finished then it's time for us to go through and mark. I would like you to self-mark your answers, so if you have a different coloured pen to hand, this can be really useful. As we go through, you'll need to mark and fix up your answers. So if there were some that you didn't get, now's your chance to add them in, or to change any that you got incorrect. Let's go. Number 1. The 3 components of the Aristotelian triad are ethos, logos, and pathos. Well done if you got that one right. That was asking you to recall knowledge that you'd learned in Year 7, and understanding the Aristotelian triad is going to be really helpful for today's lesson. Number 2. What does virtue mean? We looked at virtue, particularly when we were looking at the character of the knight in the Canterbury Tales. We said that virtue meant moral goodness, and we said that the knight... Okay, I'd like you to recall 3 of the deadly sins. I know before the half term you were all really good at recalling all 7, so let's see how many you could get. We have... where should we start? Envy. We have sloth. We have pride. That's 3. I'm sure there must be others that you've recalled too though. Let's see if we can go up to 7. We had lechery. Avarice. Gluttony. And I'll add it over here, wrath or anger. Okay, well done if you managed to get at least 3. So what does the word hubris mean? Well, hubris referred to excessive pride or self-confidence. Typically one that would lead to the character's or the person's downfall. And finally, the colour red, we said, could have multiple connotations. So these are the ideas that we might associate with a colour. Red can have connotations of danger, but it can also have connotations of love. How many more did you come up with? Get by the end of this topic. We're going to be exploring how language can be used to achieve specific effects. And we're also going to be looking at how we can use rhetorical devices in our own writing effectively. So in this unit we're going to be reading and watching a whole number of speeches, ones that might have helped to shape the world we live in. We'll look at speeches from literary and cultural texts such as film, as well as looking at real-life political speeches too. We'll be aiming to analyse and evaluate how language has been used to achieve an effect perhaps to unite a group of people together to a common cause, or to help change people's minds on a particular topic. We'll be able to compare speeches from different historical periods, looking at the similarities and the differences between them. You'll be then asked to use what you've learned to craft your own speeches, as well as performing your own speech in a way that's designed to persuade the audience. So before we begin our journey into exploring these influential speeches through time, it's really important that we spend time going back to what we learned in Year 7 about the art of rhetoric, so that we can then build on that knowledge. Let's copy this definition first into our books. Rhetoric, the art of persuasive speaking, the ability to persuade or influence others through language. Let's pause here and write down that definition. Okay, now we're going to practice saying the word out loud. I will say it first, so listen, and I'm going to start by saying it slowly. Rhet or Rick. Okay, I'm going to ask you to repeat after me, and we'll say it in the similar, slow, broken down way. Rhet or Rick. Let's go. Rhet or Rick. Okay, this time I'll count to 3, and I'd like you to say that word again on your own. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Good. Now we're going to say the word as one. Listen first. Rhetoric. Now say with me. 3, 2, 1. Rhetoric. Now say on your own. 3, 2, 1. Good. I'll let your teachers decide whether that was good enough. If so, we're ready to move on. If not, practice one more time. So we're now going to do some reading about the origins of rhetoric. You should have a short text in front of you. So I will read the text aloud, and then I will ask you at the end to answer 5 questions based on the text. Let's start reading. Many historians credit the ancient city-state of Athens as the birthplace of rhetoric. A man's success and influence in ancient Athens depended on his ability to persuade other men to vote him into power. As a result of this, small schools dedicated to teaching rhetoric, or persuasion, began to form. The men that formed these schools were known as the Sophists. The Sophists would travel from city to city teaching young men in public spaces how to speak and debate. They taught their students how to make a weak argument stronger and a strong argument weak. Sophists believed that they could use language and the written or spoken word to win any debate on any subject, even if they had no prior knowledge of the topic. A great philosopher named Aristotle criticized the Sophists. He accused them of manipulating people's emotions to persuade, rather than using truth. Aristotle was very passionate about rhetoric. In fact, he was so passionate he wrote a book on it called The Art of Rhetoric. This book was a guide on persuasion. It taught people how they could manipulate language and words to get what they wanted. In fact, the art of rhetoric was so powerful that it influenced the way people persuade other people for the next 2,000 years. Aristotle is the king of rhetoric. Okay, so to check our understanding on this topic and to get a short summary written into our books, we're going to answer 5 questions based on the text. We must remember when we're answering these 5 questions to be writing in full sentences. So that means we're not writing a short answer, but we're rephrasing the question in order to answer in a full sentence. Let's have a look at 2 examples for questions 1 and 2 first. In which city was rhetoric founded? To write this in a full sentence, I must use the question in my answer. So I'm going to start, rhetoric was founded in, before I look back in the text to find the place where rhetoric began. Question 2. Why did people in the city start to study rhetoric? Again, I need to use the question in my answer. So I'm going to start, people started to study rhetoric because. This one, it involves an explanation, a reason why. So it's likely I'm going to have a longer answer for number 2 than I would for question 1. Pause the video and complete questions 1 and 2 now, please. Okay, now you've done that, I would like you to go through and do the same thing for questions 3, 4 and 5. You should have a copy of these on the bottom of your worksheet. Okay, press play again when you are ready to self-mark, and we're going to go through the answers together. Number 1. Rhetoric was founded in the city of Athens. Well done if you got that one correct. Make sure you fix it up if you didn't get that answer right. Number 2. People started to study rhetoric because a man's success depended on their ability to persuade people to vote them into power. Sophists believed they could use language to win any debate. Aristotle was critical of the sophists. Should be a capital letter here. Because he didn't think they were using truth. He accused them of manipulating people's emotions. And number 5, Aristotle wrote a book called The Art of Rhetoric. Okay, spend a few minutes just checking your answers here. Remember, you may have worded some of them slightly differently to me, and that's okay. You're just making sure you have the general point of each question in your answer. Go careful and check capital letters though, please. Rhetoric needs a capital letter, as does the city of Athens, as well as the name sophists. You can see that one caught me out here. Aristotle is a proper noun too. And we need capital letters for the name of his book. Go through and check that now, please. Great. Now we've done that, we're going to recap the Aristotelian triad. Remember, these were the 3 appeals of rhetoric which Aristotle outlined in his book, The Art of Rhetoric. They were ethos, credibility and trust, logos, logic, reason and truth, and pathos, our emotions and values. I think it would be a really good idea for us to have a copy of this in our exercise books. So pause the video here and carefully copy down this triangle, labelling each point with ethos, logos and pathos and what they mean.